Okay, now renewable or non-exhaustible and non-renewable or exhaustible resources. In your junior classes, you have studied about the things which can be renewed, and most of the things were natural. Now, you people are in class 10, and according to the class 10, I'm going to take you to the next level. Okay, and in case of this renewable resources is those type of resources which can be renewed chemically. Number one is chemically. Number two is mechanically. This I just want to add these two words. Okay, now let me explain it once again. Non-renewable or renewable energy or non-exhaustible energy are those type of energy which gets renewed day by day, which can be either chemically, mechanically, or it can be reproduced also. So these three terms, chemically, mechanically, and reproduce, is a new word which has been added to your definition. Now let me explain it chemically. How the energy can be chemically renewed. Example, what happens is there are many things where the chemicals are used. Example, let me give you one example. What happened was, before couple of days, what happened was, in our field, what we did was we added this limestone. Okay, limestone, and this opinion was given by one of my brother-in-law, and he works in one of the agricultural offices, and he told that there can be a deficiency of calcium in your field, so add this chemical which is calcium. Okay, CaCO3, which is calcium, and I added that. And what happens is, the next time when we are going to plant new saplings, at that time we will get more production, and that can be chemically. Number one. Number two is chemically. Example, what happens is, have you seen the oxygen cylinder? When you go inside this hospitals and clinics, you'll see oxygen cylinder. What happens is, they will keep on using that, and after a couple of days it will get exhausted, and it will get finished. Again they will refill it, and then that is chemically they will add something, and there are many examples. Okay, and number two is mechanically. By the term of mechanics also, it can be renewed. Example, what happens is, let me give you a simple example which is mechanically, which you have seen. I guess most of you will ride scooty or a car. So what happens is, if the brake shoe is gone, if the brake is not operating properly, what you will do is, you will just take it to this mechanics, and they will just change your disc. At that time the brake starts working properly, and that is mechanical. And number three is reproduce. See, reproduction means, what happens is, to grow. Okay, to grow, or to divide, or a new sapling comes out. So for an example, what happens is, recently, last year in the month of October, November and December, there was a huge forest fire in Australia. So what happened was, most of the plants and animals, they died there. Okay, and it is believed that more than 550 lakhs animals that died in that bushfire. So what happened is, and Australia is known for two most important animals, and it is very, very famous. One is kangaroo, and another is koala bear. And lots of koala bear and lots of kangaroo, they were dead there, and they were burnt alive. So what happened was, now what happens is, now the fire has been extinguished. So what happens is, day by day there will be a reproduction of kangaroo, there will be reproduction of koala bear, and one day in the future they will their proportion or the number is going to get increased, and that is called as reproduction. So what happens is, renewable energy or renewable resources is those type of resources which can be renewed chemically, mechanically, or by the process of reproduction. Fine. If there is any problem, please inbox to me personally. Now let's go to non-renewable energy. See here, in case of non-renewable energy, this type of energy are those energy which gets which requires millions millions, or thousands of geological era or time to get renewed. And you people know it very well. Non-renewable energy or exhaustible energy is those type of energy which requires thousands and millions of geological area. I guess this is a new word. Geological is a new word for you all. Geological area means the time period which is required by the earth is called as geological era or geological time. Okay, it requires thousands of years. I guess you all are clear with this. If there is any problem, please inbox me personally. Now we are going to jump to another chapter, another topic, and that is going to be, now the fourth point is resources which are classified on the basis of ownership. The term ownership means it is owned by someone, which means that someone is the owner of it. On the basis of ownership, number one, the first category is individual ownership. Individual ownership means if a property or the resources is owned by a person is called as individual ownership. Example, what happens is if I have got a pond in my in my home, that is also one of the resources, and the owner of that pond is me. So that is my individual ownership. Example, another is, say for an example, you people have big orchards at your home. So all the fruits which are grown in that orchard belongs to you. So what happens is, that is called as individual ownership. That means where there is a owner of the resources is called as individual ownership. Okay, and number two is community ownership. Community ownership. See, I guess you people are aware of this word which is called as community. What is community? A community means where there is a collection of people, a group of people is called, a group of people who are residing together is called as community. In case of community ownership, that particular resources will not belong to one individual person. It will not belong to one individual person, but there will be several people who will be the owner of that particular resources. Example, ground. Example, if you have a ground, that is example, if you have ground in your village and that is not your individual owner, you do not share your individual ownership there, but the ownership of that ground belongs to everyone. But if someone has a ground of themselves, of their own, at that time it becomes individual ownership. So for an example, one of my favorite footballer, two of my favorite footballers are Neymar and Cristiano Ronaldo. And Neymar and Cristiano Ronaldo, they own a big ground, and they have got a ground next to their home where they will practice the football every day, and that is their individual ownership. Okay, and that belongs to their, and that is individual ownership, because those grounds are owned by this Neymar and Cristiano Ronaldo. But what happens is, if the ground, if there is a ground, okay, and which is not owned by anyone, at that time if there is more than one owner, then it is called as community ownership. That means it is owned by the community. Example, ground. Next, it can be picnic spot. Okay, wherever, when you will go for a picnic, at that time you will just go there, you will cook the food, you will be refreshed, and you may come back. And that particular place also does not belong to anyone, but it is owned by the community. So community ownership means which is owned by more than one person. Now let's go to the third type of ownership, which is called as national ownership. Okay, national. Third is national ownership. Please remember, the word national comes from a nation, word nation, and the nation means country. Nation means country. So what happens is the resources which are owned by the country is called as national ownership, owned or nationally owned resources. Example, what happens is we have got monuments. Example, monuments like Taj Mahal. It is owned by our nation, okay, and there are historical sites, okay, and those things are owned by our nations, okay. Then apart from that, there are many forest and wildlife sanctuaries, biosphere reserves. Those belong to our nation, and it will have a national ownership, okay. And on top of that, what happens is, this is a basic concept, and another concept I just want to drag you inside that concept, and that is anything which is inside the territory of a country belongs to that country. Example, what happens is Taj Mahal is in India, and the people of Pakistan, they cannot come and claim that it's of Pakistan, okay. So what happens is all the things which is inside the country belongs to the nation. And previously I told you that if I have a pond in my home, that is my individual property, and I can say that is my individual property, but it relies within the territory of India, though it is mine also, and it can belong to our country also. Understood? Is there any confusion? If there is confusion, please text me. I will explain you in a better way. Okay? Nation ownership. That means the resources which is owned by the nation. Okay, next is international resources.